General.
Oh, hi.
Wow. It's so great to see you.
It's so great to see you too. I always like pretending like we just now saw each other on these things. Like
No,
we haven't been
we're
back
meeting
there
for the very first
waiting.
time right this very second. I don't know anything about either of these two men, so we're all going to learn
It's
together.
gonna be awkward.
Congratulations on the show again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is the second New York iteration.
Well, I did this maybe a year or two ago at Ars Nova for just a few nights. I did just like a couple night run, and so I did that, and then but Michael got on board, and like it's the first like full production. So yeah, and we did it for a weekend in September, and then now we're back.
And then in LA at the
and then
Celebration
I did an 8-week run in LA in between the two runs. So in October, November, I was in LA.
But you were doing the show in LA before bringing it to New York.
Yes, I had been doing it yes, and when I started doing the show, I did it for an audience of, it was a 30-seat house. It was tiny, and it was just me in a chair with 3 other chairs on stage, and that was it. And now it's blown up a lot more. So it's.
Didn't you once do it at a party?
I did. A girl saw the show, and she said, "Can I hire you to do it in my backyard in front of my friends?" And I was like, that's so insane. And I also was like, please prep your friends. Like, there's going to be a one-man show in your backyard, because how horrible would it be to be at a party and be like, oh, wait, there's a player here to unpack his storytelling. But, I'm like, oh, it would have been horrible. But it ended up going really well. And people had like a picnic, and they sat outside, and we did it because the show starts in the late afternoon, and it goes through the night. And so we set it right at sundown.
Oh, wow.
And it was really awesome. And I learned a lot about the play from actually doing it outside, because the play is set outside. And so I just in terms of talking and listening, and I'm like, oh, if I could just talk to these chairs like I'm literally in the space, you learn a lot about it.
Immersive theater is all the rage.
It's all the rage now.
Yeah.
It's very sexy.
I know.
So
We love that word too. Sexy.
It's very sexy.
Very sexy.
And Michael, how did you get involved?
Well, we're old friends, and when he did it at Ars Nova, I went to see it, and I didn't know anything about it. I'd seen Drew's comedy before in LA doing improv or sketch comedy and things like that, and so I knew that he would be hilarious, but I assumed it was going to be more of a stand-up or monologue, and what it is, and to my great surprise and delight, is a play. It's a play where there's one character on stage that we see and hear, but 3 other characters that we do not see or hear. We glean what they say based on what the present character responds to and replies to, and it was this incredible feat that he did with 3 chairs at Ars Nova, and like a black curtain in the back. And I thought, this is absolutely brilliant, and it needs to be seen by everybody, and he needs a full production surrounding him to make it feel real, because it's not like a storytelling one-man play you might see where someone's like, and then my mom said, and then they become the mom. Honey, you can't, which we've all seen and which we can dread. It's not like that. He's one guy, and it's a play. Like, it's a 3-wall play where there's a 4th wall, and he creates this whole world. So I said, can I help you fill in all the world? And he said yes. And so we got working together, and then put it up for various producer types, and now we're trucking.
Yeah.
And I mean, Michael, you have a little bit of experience with one-man shows yourself. Buyer and seller.
Do you?
Perhaps you heard of it.
Oh.
Have you, Drew? Oh, Drew, sweet Drew.
I don't know. Where am I? Who am I?
So how much did that help when you were working on this with Drew?
Well, that was, I did this play, Buyer and Seller, forever, at the Barrow Street Theater, actually. We opened at the Rattlestick, and then we played Barrow Street, and then I went on tour, and we did it. I've done it in many, many places. It was a wonderful experience, a different kind of one-man show. It was the kind of one-man show where I would suddenly be another character. But when I saw Drew's play, I immediately thought, I know how to be alone on stage. I know how to maintain that. I know how to, because when you're alone on stage, for an entire evening, you become your own editor. As if, and that's not to say that you change the words. It's more to say that you feel the audience, you feel what's happening, what's working, and you, with them, create the night every night. And it's different every night. And with Drew's show, it's actually different every night. Because
Who knows what's going to fall out of my throat each night?
Because Drew comes from improv comedy, so, you know, part of...
And I wrote this play, which is different in your situation, because you had a playwright, and your play was much more specifically written, and you couldn't play around with the words every night, or it would be, slapping.
It would. That's right. That's right.
You can't just change the words. And my show is 85, 90% scripted and the same, but then there are just things thrown in, or there are things that I sort of maybe move around differently each night, and I feel licensed to do that because I wrote it, and it's like, and
it's so real. That's what's amazing about the play already is so real, and so when something happens, like an orange falls off of the table, like you would in real life, he can go pick it up. In a regular play, when an orange falls off the table and the actor doesn't have a line about it, it can you're aware you're watching a play. Suddenly you're like, oh, this is a play, and that poor actor has to go pick up the orange or not.
And then all we're going to do is look at the orange and forget we're watching a play.
And it happened the other night. The orange fell off the table. He picked it up and he threw it. And it was a whole story. It became a whole story. No, but it became so you could come see the play more than once, and you will have a different experience. Not drastically different, but it will be. It is. I mean, every night in the theater is special. Every night in the theater is its own its own special evening. But this play is actually different.
And Drew, you're someone I've pointed to for a long time as someone who has been creating his own work and creating his own opportunities. And what prompted you to write the play?
Well, I do a lot of online comedy and a lot of videos, and around LA I do a lot of live shows and a lot of wigs and a lot of big crazy characters. Play a lot of women. I play a lot of confused drunk old men or whatever I get to do. It's a journey. But I just always wanted to write something that had a little bit more teeth and had something to say. Also, just like when I'm lucky, what I usually get to do in TV or film is limited in terms of it might be like a great guest star one episode of a show or something, but you don't get to. I wanted to write a role. I wanted to write a dream role, and so I always had that in the back of my mind. Then I got an invitation to a friend's wedding, asking us not to wear bright colors or bold patterns to the wedding. And I was like, what is that? And my friend is lovely, and it was a straight wedding, and she, have you guys heard of those? They're weird. They're weird. But it's a man and a woman? What? I don't get it. Anyway, so, but she's a control freak, and she wanted the audience just to look pretty for her pictures. But I took that as bright colors and bold patterns was such a title to me. I heard that title, and I go, that is a title. And gay marriage had just gotten legalized when I started writing this in 2013, and I was like, oh, is this what we're doing? And so I wanted to make a play for us, by us kind of thing, where it's looking at gay culture and saying, it's great that we have gay marriage, obviously, but what is the other side, or what are the questions that come up in our culture, and what are we fighting for? And so it all sort of swimming around, and then I was going to Palm Springs all the time, and I was like, I want to do a play where, a boys in the band play, where it's, gay people in a house screaming at each other kind of play. Love, Valor, Compassion, there are a lot of them, I wanted to write something like that, but how my friends and I talk with each other. And then I was like, oh, I want to put my big gay mess character in this. And then I was like, if it was just me up there, I would make you look at me, because I have characters, I have hot characters in Speedos, and I'm like, if I cast actors in that, audiences looking around, I wanted there to be a point where you have to look at the guy that you don't want to be stuck with at a party. The life of the party, the one who's a lot of fun for 10 minutes, and then you're like, okay, that's enough of you. We get it, moving on. But you're stuck with me for this whole time and really seeing me and really seeing what this guy's about. Because I don't feel like we write that guy. And I think as gay people, we're scared of being that guy or writing that guy, and I wanted to be him. So yeah, that's how it came out.
Well, over the last couple of years, has the play changed?
It has. It's grown a lot. The very first time I did it, I was so scared that people would even get it. And I was like, or am I just going to look completely insane, like screaming at chairs for? And I also just didn't trust myself that I had it in me. So I think the first night I did it, it was like 45 minutes long because I was like, my next line, here we go, you know. And so the biggest change is that I just now have so much more space for the other people to get in and talk, and that has made it more like a play. And then I was also in a much tighter space, so I had no room, and I had to pretty much just kind of play it like this between the chairs. And now, you know, it's grown a lot more in that. And there are a lot of points that I didn't really make clear the first time I wrote it. I definitely had to figure it out, and through lots of, you know, times getting it up and going, okay, this moment's kind of weird, and I need to massage this. And so the writing, you know, I definitely had to, you know, punch up and change and cut and say this isn't as important as this and move this around here and that. And so, yeah.
Well, Michael, you were saying earlier that the play feels a little bit different post-election.
Yeah, well, I think everything feels a little different post-election. I've talked to people who are in plays that are about topical issues before and after, and they said it's changed. I talked to somebody who's in Holiday Inn on Broadway, which is this, you know, happy-go-lucky musical, and he said our play has changed. I mean, in that case, I think people are just looking for an escape, and so they're, you know, they're just swimming in this silliness and joy. But things are heard differently now. We hear things in a different way. And we did this play. We first put this play up at the Barrow Street in September, and and then when we came back last week, there was a very marked change. I mean, for one, Drew had been doing it in L.A., and so it had grown and changed and deepened. But also, as the more political ideas in the play, or the more worldly ideas in the play would fall on the audience, they were met with different responses. And you know, there's deep sighing, and people are. The play is very funny. It's a comedy, but it goes to some serious places. There's some issues dealt with, and the character is a flawed man, and it comes out. And I think everyone's looking in now. Everyone's looking in and grabbing on,
Well, it's also about a guy who's saying, let's not be afraid. Let's be big. Let's be bold. Let's not, you know, the invitation says no bright colors or bold patterns. And this is like, let's have bright colors and bold patterns. And so I think now, you know, I'm hearing so many people saying, like, we need to be as out and proud about whoever we are and whatever we are right now. We need to be loud and vocal and together. And I think that was something I never thought of, you know, as like a collective. But it definitely feels that. And I've had so many people come up to me afterwards and say, I just needed to laugh tonight. And I'm like, I did too, because I really enjoy I genuinely have fun every time I do it, because the audience, you know, feeling that together is magical, but also like important right now, I think, just to have that experience. Yeah, I did just call myself important. No, but seriously, it's important to get together and laugh, yeah, you know.
Well, and before we get to questions from the audience, I'm curious what it's like, Drew, working with a director who's also an actor.
Oh, it's wonderful. We have such a shorthand. I mean, Michael and I have worked together on several things, so we just sort of like, we're kind of always kind of talking in we have a really easy shorthand in doing it. And it's been great because having a director who's an actor, they understand the actor and they know exactly how to sort of say certain things. I don't know. It's really nice, as opposed to just stand over there, be funnier, make it work. Why isn't it working? You know, it's like Michael knows how to just give really great suggestions, and I don't know, the language. You're really great. You know that?
Well, I don't really. I mean, I have directed for the camera before. I've directed a web series and short films and one feature film, and so like that to me is a very different animal than directing a play. And I've never really been inspired to direct a play or thought I could direct a play until I saw this, and I knew, I just knew I could see it. I just saw it, and I said I know how to put this together. I know how to help him take this to the next step, and I know how to help him maintain it night to night.
That's the other thing too, with your experience in doing buyer and seller, and just helping with that, and just like little things that you've said that are really great to, you know, keep it fresh every night.
Right. And
No.
and because you know, spending so much time alone on stage, you really do become your own. As I said before, you become your own editor, and once you embrace that, it's extremely freeing. And so I felt like I could impart that to him earlier than I figured it out, and that I could help that, and also given the nature of the show and that it is often improvised, sitting down and rehearsing isn't really helpful. It's more he needs to be in front of people and learn by that, and then we can talk about it, go do it, and then let's talk about it again. That's really where I feel like our work has flourished.
Well, what was that first performance with an audience like?
I mean, it was always amazing. He was amazing even when he had 2 chairs. I mean, he's just electric in front of an audience. He knows them, he gets them, and he's fearless, and he can come up with funny lines on the spot that are funny even if you don't realize he's making them up. You know, because a lot of improv is funny because you know they're making it up on the spot. And Drew definitely does that, but he also is able to write zingers in the moment, and that's really thrilling for an audience. They might not know what's new and what's not new, what's offhand and what's scripted, which is really thrilling.
Thanks.
Good job, Drew.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I don't know. Thank you.
Questions from the audience?
Hi guys,
Hi.
you're both fabulous. I just want to say that.
Thank
But
you.
my question is for Drew. You mentioned playing women, so I was wondering if you could talk about playing Miranda Priestley in the unauthorized Devil Wears Prada musical.
Yes, I got to play Miranda Priestley, which was a dream come true in LA at this place called Rockwell Table and Stage, which is sort of this cabaret space. And so they do these unauthorized parodies of films. And so we've done True Beverly Hills, and they're doing Home Alone right now for the holidays. And so I got to do Devil Wears Prada, and it was a blast. It was, I mean, I'm not really a drag queen. I love playing women. I look at it just the same as playing men. It's a character, and it's like, what's that character all about? So getting in drag every night was a nightmare for me, and I screamed a lot at false eyelashes. Yeah, and it was also just crazy doing it while people are eating chicken sandwiches, and I'm like up there in this like crazy, fright gray wig.
And it's a musical, right?
And it was a musical. I don't sing, so they had to do it all around me. But the director, Ty Blue, directed, and he's so amazing. And he was like, Miranda Priestley wouldn't sing. She wouldn't lower herself to sing. She would never be inspired to sing. Singing's for those people, you know what I mean? So it was really fun to have these amazing powerhouse singers around me while I got to just go, that's all. But that role was hard to do on stage because, Meryl Streep obviously is unparalleled, and Miranda Priestley's this big, for the camera, and I had to make it bigger because I'm in a giant space, and it's theater, and it's drag, and it's a bigger thing. So I defined those levels where I didn't just like scream and yell, but it was really fun because I barely, I had so many moments that I barely lifted my voice because, Miranda wouldn't. She wouldn't have to. Oh.
All I can picture is Kevin Kline in Soap Dish doing Death of a
Oh my God, I talk about that all the
Stop.
time. I'm like,
Oh my God.
when it was
I love
good, it
you.
was the most amazing experience. And then you had those random off nights that it did feel like, the steak and playhouse from Kevin. Exactly. The old people like,
Waiter.
why is he yelling? Exactly.
Thank you for making that reference.
Yes.
2 more questions.
Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. So this question's open for the both of you. Before
I'll take it.
taking, oh
No, I'm
sure,
kidding.
if you want, before taking the stage for a one-person show, what kind of preparation work do you put into it?
I would have the stage manager tell me a joke before I walked out because I wanted to enter laughing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was my the guy who was the stage manager who would tell me the joke before I would go on stage didn't go on tour with me. So he created a joke of the day calendar for me.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
There were cheesy jokes, like, there were stupid, quick jokes that he could tell, like, literally as I'm walking on stage, like, did you hear about the, did you hear about the protest for time travel? They chanted, what do we want? Time travel. When do we want it? It's irrelevant.
Oh, See, I hate jokes. So I'd be so mad if I went out on stage. I'd be like, okay, I get it. Oh, I have to go on? Oh, mad. That's so sweet, though. I'm sure just the gesture of someone sending you a joke, it was just
Oh,
enough
it's
to
so.
give you all the
Oh yeah, it just like warms you up, and you're like,
Yeah.
good for you. And now here I go.
It's so great. Yeah, I also love your story of how you would sometimes just take a nap and just to shock yourself into the illusion
Yeah.
of the first time.
Yeah.
Because you get really like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go. So for me, my character comes in super high energy and nervous and trying way too hard to get people to like him. So I have to come in with a lot, and I come in and I'm talking nonstop. So I just have to. Honestly, I jump up and down. I do lots of crazy, vocal idiot things, and then just imagine like. I just give myself that moment of like, you have to make these people love you, and these two chairs out here that you have to make them okay and make them love you, and that's kind of what I give myself to do, and then we go from there. Yeah.
And last question.
Hello.
Hi.
Since you were just saying that you love drag, I wanted to know which drag queens, and for both of you, if you also like drag, which drag queens you like the best, and what intrigues you about drag?
Oh, I love Jackie Beat. I love Charles Bush. I love Divine is my favorite of all time. So yeah, I mean, and yes, I love the RuPaul's queens as well. But like, I just
Bianca.
Bianca Del Rio is a genius. I mean, it's so funny, and
Shangela.
Shangela's so great. Shangela's lovely. They're who else? There's I don't know.
Oh, Rue. I mean,
Of course, RuPaul is great. I love that it's like a thing now. I love that it's part of the culture. I mean, that's something that show has done, is that it's such a part of who we all are now. Everybody knows Drag Race, and it's just it's a community of people that you got such a tiny window. Maybe they would show up for one scene in a movie, and you're like, drag queens, and then they're done. Right. And now it's a movement, and you see the diversity within the community is pretty amazing. Yeah.
All right, that's all the time that we have. So thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you,
you for
Michael and
having
Drew.
us.
thank you.
pleasure.
It was a treat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll
Thank you
take
all.
this.
Thanks, guys.